We received many requests of people that want to use Bubble to create their own custom frontend. And we made it super easy with a template you can import in a couple of minutes. The first thing you need to do is to create a MindStudio AI worker. That's what you're going to connect to the Bubble template. So let's create a new worker. Let's go with the blank project instead of the new workflow generator. And then describe what this worker should do. In this case, it's just a generic assistant. Cool. You can name the assistant whatever you want. Let's call it Bubble template. And you can go ahead in the automations and set up everything that you need. To see what you need, let's actually import the template in Bubble, and it will clarify it. To import a template in Bubble, you clearly need a Bubble account. Once you have your Bubble account, you can click on Create an App, name your app, for example, Bubble template, and click on Get Started. Bubble will immediately offer you to start with the premium features with a 14-day free trial. You need the premium features in order to import the template. So make sure you activate the free trial. It's completely free for the first 2 weeks. Then you're going to be charged $32 per month, which is their standard plan. Let's click on Activate, and this will generate the new app. Okay, we can skip the assistant. We don't really need it. And now we can navigate to the settings icon, then General, and scroll down where it says Import Application. Click on it and import the file we provided. In my example, it's called white label chatbot.bubble. It might have a different name by the time you upload it. Let's click on Confirm, and this will replicate our template inside of your Bubble account. And there you go. Here's the template. You can see the MindStudio logo there, the new chat button, and if you want to see what that looks like, you can simply click on Preview and test it out. Make sure you remove the debug option from the URL if you don't want to see all of that stuff below. So after the question mark, you can delete the question mark and everything after it. Let's reload the page, and now it will be full screen. You need to sign up in order to use it. So let's say hello, for example. Let's try to send it, and it will say you need to register first. So let's register first. Click on Register. And now everything is set up on the Bubble side, but if I try to send this message, nothing will happen, right? Because I didn't connect the MindStudio app. So what you need to do, going back to Bubble, is you need to click on the plugins and API connector. This is how we are connecting Bubble to MindStudio. Expand the API connector, and you need to replace the MindStudio secret key. You can also expand this part here. The MindStudio secret key here, this should be your API key. And you need the workflow name and the worker ID in the 2 key parameters here, which are part of the body. You don't need to change the request because the request is coming from the chat input. Okay, so now we know we need the API, we need the workflow name, and we need the worker ID. We also need something called the request, right? Because that's coming from the chat input, but we also need to initialize that in MindStudio because that's what the AI is responding to the request, the chat input in Bubble. So let's keep tab of this. We need the request, and we need the workflow name, worker ID, and API. Great, so we're back in the workflow. Let's click on the start block, and we need a launch variable. The launch variable is request. That's what we're sending from Bubble. We need something to happen in the middle. So let's click on our generate text block. Let's say that this is generate response. And let's simply say reply to and request. We can keep Claude 3.5 IQ as the model. Keep in mind that this can be as simple or as complex as you want. The only limits here are the input needs to be request. You can't pass in additional variable from the template. You can clearly modify the template and that stuff if you want to, but from the default template, you can only use the request variable, and it will only output the result. So what this thing needs to do is have a result, not a JSON output. So you can't go here, for example, say end session and use the JSON output. That's going to return a completely different structure. What we want is just the end block. That's it. And this generate response needs to be displayed to user and output schema text. Let's test this out. Click on preview, run in debugger, and let's send a request, for example, hello. Click on run. Okay, this works fine. And the received result is, hi there, how are you doing? That's fine as well. Great. So the app is ready. We just need to link it up to Bubble. Let's click on publish the app. Let's open the AI worker. And the home page of your AI worker already includes everything you need in Bubble: the worker ID, the API key, and the workflow name. So let's copy the worker ID. Let's go back to Bubble. And the worker ID is here. Then we need the workflow name. The workflow name is here. You need to paste it in here in workflow and remove .flow. You don't need that part. Finally, you need the API key. You can take the API key either from this part right here, which is default API key for the entire workspace, or you can create a custom one. So what I've done is go into the home space there, then developers, API keys, and I created a new API key for Bubble. So I copied the token, went back to Bubble, and I pasted it in right there. And now you're ready to go. I already tested this a couple of times. So here you can see a test, but let's try it one more time again. So let's click on new chat and ask something like, what is Llama AI? And we now see a response. So Llama AI is an open source large language model. That's correct. If you want to see more details about this specific thread, you can click on this icon right there, and you will see the total number of messages, the tokens used, and the cost. These two values need to be updated, but they will be fine by the time you import the template. Now let's take a look at how you can edit the styling of this app to make it look like your own. Let's go back to the Bubble editor and into the styles section. You have element styles and style variables. In the element styles, you can change the group sidebar. These are the two sidebars you'll see right here. One sidebar, two sidebars. Let's go here and change it to something like a light blue. So let's go with 007 AFF with something like a 20% opacity rate. Actually, that's a bit too dark. Let's go with 10%. Okay, better. Let's refresh. Yeah, that looks fine. So both of them are now blue. We also want to change the color of that button. We want to change the color of these examples, the background color there. And all of that is available in the style variables tab. So let's change the font to something like Montserrat. And here at the bottom, you have send button active, send button inactive, input background, examples background, and examples background over. The send button is what you see right here. This is the send button inactive, and this is the send button active. And the examples are what you see below. Let's see if the font change worked. Yeah, now it's Montserrat. That's great. And let's go here and change the send button active to something like that same blue. So 007 AFF. Let's copy this code. We want opacity 100% here, and we want the same color for the inactive, but opacity at maybe 10%, 30%. Let's do 30%. We also want the input background to be a light blue as well, something like a 10% or a 5%. Probably 10, nah, 5% is fine. Then we want the examples background, that's fine as white, and the background over should be the same color, but 10%. Great. We can also change the color of the text if we want to. That's going to be text, but it's fine for now. So let's try to refresh. And now look at that. Everything seems to be fine. We have the new chat. We have the type message. These are now blue. And when I type something in here, the button is blue. We can also change that button color right there. Let's go back here, element styles, and in button, you have standard button. Let's change this background color to blue. And when we refresh, that button is also going to be blue. Yeah, there you go. You can change the color on over as well. Here in conditional, you have the hover color. So it's this button is unclickable and this button is overed. So when it's overed, we can go and do a 30%, something like that. Click on refresh. And now it just becomes lighter. Okay, that's fine. The last thing you probably want to do is change the logo up there. So you can do that from the editor right here in design. Let's go back to the main home. This is the home and it's called the index. You can click on this element, the left sidebar, and then edit reusable element. Right here, you can click on the image logo, and in appearance, you will see the current logo, which is a static image of MindStudio, the URL of the logo. And if you click on it, you can change the logo to something that represents your company. If you go in the settings, you will see the favicon right there in general appearance. The favicon is what shows up in the tab here, and you can change it to your logo as well. If you want to use this app and maybe monetize what you built in MindStudio, you can connect it to Stripe, you can charge by token, you can have additional stuff, you can have additional rules for each user, or you can even embed it on your own domains. So here you have allow to render the app in an iframe. You can decide to allow it only for the same origin. So you can embed it on domains that have the same origin. You can block all frames, so it will just not work in any iframe, or you can allow it for everyone to use. One of the nice things about the template is that every chat is stored inside of Bubble, so you can basically have advanced logging right here. Every message is inside of the all messages app data. Just navigate to the database right there, and then you have the data types, the privacy rules, the app data, the option sets, and the file manager. And in app data, you can see all of the messages. So this is the body of one of the messages from the AI. You can see they're all right there. This one is from the user, this one is from the AI, this one is from the user, and you can see that back and forth. You have the predefined questions. You have the all users that are currently available in the app. So this is my user right there, and I can try to run the app as that user if I want to troubleshoot. You also have all devices, and you have all the chats. So this is basically the threads, and you have the number of messages in the thread, the total cost, and the total tokens. That's it for now. Hope this helps, and happy building.